A boy would be the son of France, but you, Marie-Therese, shall be mine.
You've come in about this a few times now. What sort of progress can we make here?
Progress? I'm kind of just doing this to get out of class now.
Progress in regards to the relationship? How it affects your future and home life?
Oh, I'm not really sure if that's ever gonna get better at this point.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell me?
I already told you I'm caught between an abusive relationship and my dad hating me.
Why do you say that?
'Cause it's happening?
No, your father hating you?
Oh, yeah. you're not allowed to tell anyone about what I tell you here, right?
Of course I can't. That'd defeat the purpose of therapy.
And you swear you won't? Like, not even your friends to laugh about your job?
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't look like the having friends type anyway.
Your father?
I guess, like, nothing's ever good enough for him.
How so?
Like, I don't know, I'll go pick up Popeyes for the family and make sure they don't put too little gravy in the mashed potatoes, because they always do that. And I'll come home like, look, Dad, and he'll open up the chicken like, there's only 23 pieces in here, why didn't you check?
So, nagging, you would say.
It's more than nagging. If I don't graduate and go to a school he approves of, he just says I'll end up a whore.
I hope that's an exaggeration.
No, that's about as tame as I can put it.
And what do you think your father would do if he found out about this relationship you're in?
Beat the shit out of me?
And you're completely sure?
Why wouldn't he? I'd beat the shit out of me for dating this guy.
Little things like a fast food order might not paint the whole picture of his support for you.
You're saying he'd help me get out of it?
Possibly.
Knowing his priorities, he'd probably encourage it.
What would his priorities have to do with your dating life?
He'd want me to stay with him so I'd pass history.
I'm sorry?
Oh,
What would your boyfriend have to do with your grade in history?
Fuck!
You're not dating a boy to sneak answers in class, are you? Cheating on tests can lead to expulsion.
I'm dating the teacher!
What?
I'm dating Mr. Cat so I don't fail history.
This is probably not good.
Yeah, but you can't tell anyone, right? Because you can't interfere, because this is my problem. That defeats the point of therapy, right?
Sure, of course.
Better not fuck my life up, bitch!
I'm not here to hurt you.
I have to keep dating him, because if I don't, he's gonna fail me. If I get him next year, he's gonna fail me again. And if I get held back, my GPA is gonna tank, then colleges aren't gonna want me, and my dad's gonna fucking hit me! So I need to do this. I need to act like a little girl for some daddy fetish weirdo, or I'm gonna end up a worthless whore on the side of the road!
I understand this can be very tough.
What the fuck do you understand about any of this? After work, you're just gonna go home and watch Ugly Betty or some other stupid shit!
Okay, we need to discuss our coping mechanism.
Shut up! I can cope just fine without you! Fuck this place!
Yamagata crouched down, fluffing the last pillow atop the sprawling pile of blankets on the floor. The soft thud of the door knocking made him jump slightly. He stood and swung the door open to find Tendu grinning wide, a box of fresh hot cookies in his hands, with Ushijima standing quietly behind him. The sweet, buttery scent of the cookies drifted inside, instantly warming the air. Yamagata's lips curved into a genuine smile as he stepped back, inviting them in. "Come on in," he said, his voice gentle but upbeat. Ushijima nodded and stepped inside, Tendu following closely behind. Both of them carried extra blankets, which they laid down carefully next to Yamagata's pile. Tendu then placed the cookies on the low table by the window before peeling the lid off a can of rose-scented air freshener. A soft mist sprayed lightly across the room, and the delicate fragrance of roses blossomed in the air, wrapping the small dorm room in a calming, almost magical aura. Yamagata took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment to savor the moment. "This is perfect," he said softly, eyes shining. "Semi's gonna feel so cared for." Tendu winked. "That's the plan." Ushijima gave a rare small smile. "Let's make tonight count." The other two smiled at him softly. Another knock echoed through the dorm room, soft but full of anticipation. Tendu jumped up to answer it, and the door creaked open to reveal a grinning Goshiki in the hallway, practically glowing. Behind him stood Shirabu and Kawanishi, both looking unusually soft around the edges. Goshiki beamed. "We brought reinforcements," he said, proudly lifting a tote bag brimming with face masks, lip balms, scrunchies, and a suspicious number of glittery things. Shirabu gave a little shrug, but there was a tenderness in his eyes as he shifted the pile of plushies and pillows in his arms. Tendu laughed, stepping aside. "Get in here, beauty squad." As they entered, the scent of rose lingered like a secret. Yamagata gave them a small wave from his place on the floor, and Ushijima helped Kawanishi settle the new pillows into the nest of softness already laid out. Shirabu, always the planner, immediately began organizing Goshiki's bag. "We're doing this right," Shirabu muttered, glancing toward the door like he was already preparing himself for when Semi walked in. Kawanishi settled into a corner, hugging a pillow to his chest. "He's gonna make fun of us for this, you know." Tendu sprayed the rose mist again, softer this time. Let him, as long as he laughs. The room glowed dimly lit, rose-scented, safe. For now, they were building a haven, Semi's haven. The soft creak of the door cut through the gentle hum of the room as Rion stepped inside, arms overflowing with snacks, sweet, salty, and everything in between. Chips rustled, candy wrappers crackled, and the faint scent of buttery popcorn wafted in as he kicked the door shut behind him with his heel. "Snack God has arrived," he announced in a stage whisper, a lazy smile playing on his lips. They didn't cheer, didn't shout, just smiled. It was the kind of night that didn't need noise to feel full. One by one, they settled onto the floor, drawn into the cozy sprawl of blankets and pillows that now took up most of the dorm room. The soft glow from the TV screen cast a flickering light across their faces, pale and silver blue, dancing with every movement on screen. The only other light in the room came from a tiny mushroom-shaped night lamp in the corner, glowing faintly pink like a distant star. It didn't fight the darkness, it melted into it, softening the edges. No one spoke much. Tendu lay with his head on a plush octopus, absently tossing popcorn into his mouth. Shirabu was curled up under a weighted blanket, Goshiki leaning against his shoulder as they quietly debated whether or not the characters on screen were in love. Kawanishi had tucked himself beneath a blanket fort, only his eyes peeking out, watching. Ushijima sat cross-legged, calm and still, his presence grounding them all like the earth beneath them. Yamagata passed around a bag of gummies, his movements careful, tender. It was quiet, safe. They were waiting, but they weren't rushing, just breathing in the rose-sweet air and letting the room hold them together while they waited for Semi to come home to something that looked, and maybe even felt, like love. The soft tick of the clock was barely noticeable over the hushed movie playing in the background, but they all heard it. And then the door creaked open, slow, hesitant. Semi peeked in. His eyes, still red and puffy from the storm he'd been carrying all day, widened just slightly. Maybe from surprise. Maybe from something more fragile. Something like disbelief. Because in front of him sat his friends, his whole world, really, curled up in blankets, surrounded by pillows, snacks half forgotten in laps. The TV's gentle light flickered across their faces like a quiet lighthouse, casting everything in soft blues and shadows. They all looked up. No one said a word. They didn't have to. Shirabu, eyes already a little glossy from before, patted the space beside him and nudged Kawanishi, who mirrored the motion without looking away from the screen. Semi swallowed hard. There was something sacred in the silence, something patient, something that waited for him. He slipped out, disappeared into the bathroom, and returned minutes later wearing clean clothes, soft cotton, a little oversized. He still looked small in them, tense, fragile. But as he sank into the spot between them, something shifted. Kawanishi, without looking, tossed an arm over his shoulders loose, lazy but grounding. Shirabu lifted his blanket and let it fall over Semi's lap, his knee pressing lightly against his. The pressure in Semi's chest cracked, just a little. And then, relief. He didn't smile, not yet. But the tension in his shoulders melted just enough for him to lean just slightly into Kawanishi's side. He exhaled like he hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath all day. Still, no one said a word, and it was perfect. By the third movie, the room was a sea of steady breathing and slow, sleepy blinks. The TV's light flickered across half-lidded eyes and forgotten bowls of snacks, casting soft shadows on faces drowsy with comfort. And in the middle of it all sat Semi. His head was tilted slightly down, his bangs falling over his eyes. No one said anything. No one needed to, because the glisten in his lashes, the way his breath hitched every now and then, that was for him to know, and for his small, beautiful family to simply feel. He didn't sob, didn't sniffle. Just let the tears fall silently, one after another, like star drops slipping from the night sky. Then something warm. Fingers brushing against his, tentative at first, then lacing through them with a familiar stubbornness. Shirabu. Semi glanced at him through tear-blurred eyes, and Shirabu, for once, didn't speak. Just sat there, eyes on the screen, expression unreadable, but his hand, firm in Semi's, was loud enough. Semi's lips trembled into a smile. Small, honest, a little cracked at the edges, but real. He tightened his grip. Shirabu squeezed back. In that moment, nothing else existed but the silent symphony of skin on skin and all the words they didn't say. We're here. It's okay. I love you. And in that still, quiet night, surrounded by warmth and the scent of rose air freshener and half-eaten cookies, Semi finally let himself believe it. Even if just for a moment,